Okay, perfect. So yeah, jump right in here. So I'm Matt Grierbill with Cavallo. I've been with the organization for about 9 years. And I'm going to be talking really today about accelerating your order to cash cycle with SalesPad. So just a little background on SalesPad. I'll kind of start off with our why. So we're always laser focused on creating bottom line outcomes for our clients. And so our why is really to make businesses that we work with more profitable, competitive, and valuable. And that laser focus on that bottom line has really resulted in some tremendous results over the past 20 plus years. So we were founded in 2003. Since that time, we've served over 1,000 distributors who have created over $100 million in value from the tools that they're using that they leverage from our solutions. Our retention rate's at 92%, NPS scores at 95, and of those 1,000 plus distributors, we've served about 21,000 individual users in our applications. Our commitment to GP is still there, so we plan on continuing to develop and support the solutions that you'll see today for at least the next decade. And so with that, I'm going to jump into kind of the flow that we'll walk through today. So I'm going to use this sort of staple yourself to an order scenario today to kind of walk through an order from start to finish in the SalesPad environment. And I really wanted to focus on this because, being that we're really focused on bottom line results, the order is an interesting transaction to really focus on. If you're familiar with the Harvard Business Review publication, Staple Yourself to an Order, one of the quotes from that is, every time the order is handled, the customer is handled, and every time the order sits unattended, the customer sits unattended. And so to really focus on the orders to really understand the customer's experience with your organization. And so that's what I'll be focusing on today. We'll start in terms of the flow with kind of the customer lookup. What does that look like? What do we provide to make that simpler in finding that record? And once you have that customer record, there's potentially insights that you may want to view, order histories, open sales documents that might be interesting for you. So presenting that sort of 360-degree view of the customer once you've found a customer record. And then transitioning over into order entry and showing how we put an order in, some of the great visibility that we provide. And when you're doing that, item lookups, the inventory availability. And once we have that order entered, that logic component. So where does it need to route to next? Does it need to go right to the warehouse? Should we think about splitting it? How do we manage back orders? To make sure that we're really minimizing touch points and streamlining that as much as possible. Because again, if an order is unattended, the customer is unattended. So we want to make sure it's always progressing forward. And then once we've got that through that sort of management phase and into the warehouse, what does that look like to really, pick and pack and get that prepared for the outbound shipment, and being able to do that in real time with great visibility into that order. And so with that, we'll jump right into the demo. So I'm going to get out of this screen and we'll switch over to, this is my, SalesPad environment here. And so what we're seeing here, this is SalesPad desktop. And so this is looking directly at the same data that you have inside of GP. And so the customer master records that we see displayed on the search grid are the same customer search or customer records that you'd have in your GP environment. But some of the things that we've done in this user interface to make it really fast to find particular records is we present them on this grid view, and I can do things like come into this auto filter row and quickly type in a name. In there, I've got it narrowed down to one particular customer. I can layer these filters on top of one another. So if I wanted to look at customers in Michigan, maybe I wanted to look at strictly Detroit, I can quickly filter and layer those on top of each other to get down to a specific subset of customers. We can also right click on this and bring up a column chooser. And so this will give you access to additional customer fields related to that customer object, or you can have user-defined fields. So we have the ability to set up unlimited user-defined fields that you can throw in there as well. But once I find a customer record, you can see that it opens up on a new tab. And that's very intentional to really make multitasking very streamlined. So I've got my customer list open, but I'm also opening up customer records. And if I needed to have multiple customer records open at the same time, I can do that and quickly toggle back and forth. But just kind of moving through this quickly, once I have a customer record open, if I need additional insights as I'm talking to that customer, you can see that we have basic properties here. We have open sales documents in this window here, and then down below we have the series of subtabs, which display a host of additional information and insights that might be useful as you're talking to that customer. So just as an example, in the properties, I can hover over the name and I can see the revenue, cost, margin, freight revenue, and cost over the last 4 years to see comparatively how am I doing. I can see my open sales documents, and this is presented on a list view similar to what we saw before. I can look at AR balances, so what are their aging buckets and the different outstanding balances that are out there. We also have interactions, and so if we're communicating with the customer and maybe I wanted to look at a past action or discussion that we have all of those sort of CRM type interaction details that you can access as well, all from this single view. But I'll transition now into order entry. And if we look at the order entry, just want to point out we have these document IDs here. And so these are all of your GP document IDs. And so if I have an order that I want to enter, I could simply select that document that I want to create. And again, it creates that new tab. And so I have a new order here for Aaron Fitz. And to add additional items to this order, I can hit the new tab here and I can begin keying in a value. And if I get a partial match, just as an example, I can pop open my inventory lookup screen. And this will give me the ability to scroll through any items that had a similar match to that. And once I've highlighted an item in here, I can also look at some of the subtabs to see, warehouse inventory information. So what's on hand, what's allocated, at the different locations for that particular item. And so I can select that, pull it into my document, adjust my quantity accordingly. Additional items I can add here as well. And so in this case, I'm just going to add an additional item. And in this case, I'm going to just force a back order on this. And so let's say I have 2 lines on here. I've got one in stock, one that's out of stock. Again, I want to push this through as quickly as possible with as few touch points. In this particular case, the customer will take partial shipments. So I'm going to actually split this automatically with my workflow, and I'm going to push out one of the documents that contains the item I do have in stock to my warehouse to go ahead and pick and pack that. And so here you can see I have a document that I've created. And again, that's one and the same with GP. So that document, that sales order is in GP. I'm going to go ahead and release this into my workflow. And when I do that, I'll have a prompt that pops up here. And you can see that it's saying, hey, you do have one in stock and one item that's out of stock. Let's go ahead and split it. And you can see here that it's actually taking the original document number and putting a suffix on it. So it's a .1, .2. So I have that connection to the original order, but it's going to break it off into 2 separate orders. So I could process those accordingly. One of the items I'm going to go ahead and pick and pack. The other item I want to put in a back order queue. So procurement can go ahead and take action on that, get a PO cut. And I could also automate the PO generation of that through workflow as well. But I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, that I want to confirm the split on that particular sales document. And what that'll do is give me a prompt that says, where do those orders go in my workflow? And so here you can see the .1 version of that order that contained the item I did have in stock went to my picking queue. And the .2 version of that order went into my back order queue. And so to maintain visibility of that, and I'm just going to make a note of this order number, it's 110.1. So to maintain visibility of that, we provide something called the sales monitor. And the sales monitor allows you to build out a linear workflow that uses the batches in GP as sort of the queues or the stages, the status of those orders as they progress through. And so here you can see I have a new orders, back orders, anything that's on hold, maybe there's a credit issue, my pick, pack, ship. And I can see the document count in each one of those queues, the dollar value. And then here we see the more detailed view of that breakout. So I can see it grouped by back order. These are all orders on back order. These are on hold. These are in the warehouse ready for picking, and these are packing. And so you can kind of break up these queues and effectively assign departments or individuals to be tracking these queues and say, hey, if something goes in there, now I take ownership of that and I can process that. I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh on this view, and you can see that 110.1 moved into the pick queue. And if I were to look at my back order queue, you could see there's the 110.2 automatically broke off and went into my back order queue. Now for today, I'm just going to focus on continuing this document forward, the sort of the pick process. And so far everything we've looked at is our SalesPad desktop application, and now I'm going to bring over our mobile application for Inventory Manager, our Inventory Manager mobile application. And so this is something that you would have on a handheld. An Android type device is usually preferred. And then we can go in and look at something like picking. And so my picking transaction, I can pick this to execute the fulfillment. I can look at my document numbers, and any document that is in that pick queue will be here. And so I can see the 110.1. I can go ahead and scan or select my item numbers. I can go ahead and plug in the quantity that's on there, and then indicate the bin. So I'm in a multi-bin, so I'll scan the bin, and then I can go ahead and submit that pick. And when I submit that pick, that will automatically move that and progress that through the workflow. And so if I'll refresh this here, we'll see that the 10010.1 automatically moved into the pack. So not only are we recognizing immediately in real time on the handhelds what's ready to pick, it's moving it along in that process as soon as we execute that pick. And I'll stop there, but the idea here is just really streamlining that order management process, as few touch points as possible, using logic to route things so the next person knows immediately when they have to take action on it. Because again, an unattended order is an unattended customer. And so that's what we're focusing on with SalesPad here.